Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 1st May 2017. The first article, Kashmiri's Unending Tragedy. You all know the Kashmir problem has started along with our independence. And when Raja Hari Singh has signed Instrument of Accession, the domain of India was extended only to three subjects over the Kashmiris. That is external affairs, that is military, and communications. Later, the Presidential Order 1954, it has extended it to certain other subjects. So, in this context, Article 370 has provided for a special status to the Jammu and Kashmir. Any of the dialogue or discussion about the status of Article 317 and stating that Article 370 is just a temporary transient provision, it may lead to insecurities among the Kashmiris. And the second major problem is the political process has failed in the Kashmiris over 5 decades. I'll put it as this way. The army is supposed to maintain the security at the borders. But however, when we are constantly using the army for a law and order problem, it means that the political and civil administration has failed to restore the peace over years. As army exists for long, and army is expected to use force against the people, then obviously it leads to a sense of alienation. And you also know that army represents the nation. Then there is an alienation towards India which develops among the people when human rights are more and more violated. So that's why I say that the condition in Kashmir can be stated as a failure of the political process. And at the same time, whenever the elections held in Kashmir before 1990s, the fairness was missing among these elections, so the democratic process was not properly set. And Article 356 was widely misused. So in the process, from early 2000 onwards to an extent, the elections are free and fair, and also order restored in Kashmir. But of late, the government's insistence on Article 370, it has led to the deterioration of the situation further and further. So then what is the way out? Here let me put it this way. The peace and political process, these are like chicken and egg relationship. The government says that the peace has to come first, then only a political process can start. On the other hand, the separatists, they say that first the political process or dialogue has to start, then peace can be an outcome or product of this. So in this context, which has to come first is a major question. You know that the BJP-PDP government is existing in Kashmir, and there is an agreement on alliance which also talks of taking up the talks with various stakeholders in Kashmir. So the author talks about this way. The talks has to start immediately. The talks and de-escalation of the tensions must go together. And we are doing it other way around in a sequence. First the peace and then the de-escalation and then the talks. This can never happen in the case of the Kashmir. That is what is the apprehension expressed by the author over here. Reading in the sharks. You know that Real Estate Regulation and Development Act is being passed by the Parliament, and from today it is coming into force and the notification is issued by the central government to that effect. As per this, every state government has to create a real estate regulatory authority and also real estate appellate boards. So these are supposed to take up the grievances of the citizens. And every project in the real estate sector which is more than 500 square meters or every project which has more than 8 apartments shall be registered with a real estate regulatory authority. And all the brokers and agents also shall get registered with this particular authority. And 70% of the money which is meant for that project have to be spent only on the same project. And once the plan is been approved, it shall not be changed for. And the plan has to be displayed for the buyers at their respective marketing offices. And for the 5 years after the construction, the responsibility for the damages lies with the developer. So in this way, this Real Estate Regulation and Development Authority is intended to protect the buyer. Now what about the real estate developers is the question. There is a long pending demand that the housing shall be declared as an industry so that they get the free loans. And the second, most of the cases the delays are not due to execution but lack of permissions. And the titles are not very clear with regard to India, and there is no central database for that. So unless these systemic problems are not being solved, the real estate regulation can become another layer of a regulatory procedure rather than addressing all the problems of the sector. That is what is the criticism. Now, building holistic ties. You know that India-Sri Lanka ties are improving after the Rajapaksa. So Mr. Sirisena and also Vikram Singhe has made visits to India. So in the process, the discussions are majorly around the technical issues and also economic issues. So the relations are said to be becoming more transactional. So the article says about we also need to maintain the core of the political relations which we were having before. As of now, we are seeing the India-China relations mostly from the lens of, India-Sri Lanka relations mostly from the lens of China. So because of this, we are in kind of a competition with China to develop the infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka. So the political process, especially the fishermen issue and also resettlement, human rights issue, these also India need to actively involve in the affairs of Sri Lanka. That's what is spoken over here. So actively involve, it means as equal dialogue partners. It is not like India interfering with the sovereign affairs of another nation. So India has to make a step forward with regard to the humanitarian issues in Sri Lanka. So that's what is the thing. Mr. Trump's tax cut. So let's understand top to bottom approach to development or trickle down effect. You know that when the Trump was campaigning for elections, he has emphasized on trickle down effect. That's why he wants to cut down the corporate taxes and also income taxes. As the surplus capital increases with the people, it leads to development of an enterprise, and this enterprise will provide for more and more jobs. This is what is the trickle down effect which Mr. Trump is talking about. And the second is $1.8 trillion of US money of US companies is stocked in the tax havens. Mr. Trump, by reducing the tax rates, also wants to bring in back this particular money. What will be the negative outcomes? You all know that the trickle-down effect did not yield the results as expected before. And second, as the taxes are cut down, the fiscal deficit is bound to increase, and the government is supposed to decrease its expenditure. As you see the military plans and also the infrastructure plans of Mr. Trump, the fiscal deficit is not expected to come down. So getting the support from the Republicans for wider fiscal deficit is a major challenge for the president. Now, years after war, trials of resettlement. You know that many of the people got displaced in Sri Lanka due to the civil war. So how these people have to be rehabilitated is the question. Now, much of the land of these people is being taken away by the army during the civil war is on progress. So, the land has to be returned to its original owners. And second, we also have to provide for, the government also have to provide for various sanitation and other benefits over there. So, it means generation of economic opportunities and sense of a place, these are critical importance in the rehabilitation in northern and eastern provinces of Sri Lanka. That's what this article emphasis is. Price caps are a bad idea. In a market economy, demand and supply has to determine the price of a good or a service. On the other hand, government regulating the prices of the products which are produced by the private agencies can send a wrong message to the market. And the second is, recently the government has fixed or reduced the stent prices by 85%. National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority has reduced them by 85%. So when the profits of the companies have gone down drastically and they may not be willing to produce the product at all, then it can do greater damage compared to an advantage to the citizens. That's what is this article talks about. Now, let's come to the front page. The SARC satellite set for liftoff. So you know that India is speaking about a SARC satellite which will be kept in the geostationary orbit and which will improve the communication across the SARC regions. It will also have the VSAT communications. It will improve telemedicine, telecommunications and disaster relief across the SARC countries. That's what is this been spoken about. EC may change the recounting rules. Now, as per the recounting system, so we don't have, or we just need to verify them through the EVMs. As VVPATs are coming up, any recounting involves measuring the votes in the EVMs and also VVPATs. To that extent, the rules under the Representation of People's Act are going to be changed. Now let's go to the news page. Turkey sees role in Kashmir talks. Now I see more it as a retaliation of the Erdogan. So yesterday there was Cyprus president in India. You know that Cyprus north is divided into north and south. The northern Cyprus is under the control of Turkey and southern Cyprus consists of Greece or Greek citizens. So in this case, a reconciliation process is going on over there. And in 1974, when Turkey has invaded Cyprus, India's stand is to maintain the unity and integrity of the Cyprus. And that is reiterated by the Prime Minister Modi when Cyprus president has visited India. Now, this has an objection to Mr. Erdogan, and Erdogan is on visit to India. And you know that the Turkey is traditionally a friend of Pakistan. Now, Turkey wants to enhance its relations with India, especially in defense, information technology, and space. But however, on geopolitics, Mr. Erdogan has clearly stated that there has to be a multilateral dialogue on Kashmir. So, it is against to the India's position. India has clearly stated as for the Shimla conference that, Shimla agreement that any of the problem between India and Pakistan, including Kashmir, has to be solved through bilateral talks. And also, Mr. Erdogan has equated India and Pakistan or hyphenated between India and Pakistan with regard to their entry into NSG. So that's why I can say Erdogan's trip to India has started on a wrong footing. Let us see how it turns. VIP culture must end. You know that already Lal Batti has been closed. And also there is a sense of entitlement among the VIPs with regard to various public services. And this sense of entitlement also shall end. That's what is the article talks about. And EC for 5-year ban on those bribing the voters. And money power in the elections is the major problem in India. We have seen in RK Nagar bypoll how much the money is spent and how it is spent. So that's why EC is contemplating to get the RPA amended so that a 5-year ban can be imposed on the people who are proven or who are charge sheeted for involving in malpractices, especially distributing the money to the voters. That is what has been stated. And coming to the business page. So India-US to hold talks to strengthen trade ties. You know that there are many irritants with regard to the trade is growing between India and United States of America. And you also know that US wants India and US trade to grow up to $500 billion. But the H-1B visa restrictions on intellectual property rights are a major challenge. You know that with regard to IPR consent, the Special 301 report of the United States has kept India under a prior watch list category. It means India is not an IP-friendly nation. That's what is the message you tried to convey. So in spite of this, there is a good going with regard to the trade talks between these two countries are being concerned. That is what is being stated over here. Let's revise the things. So we have discussed about Kashmiri's unending tragedy. So in this article, we spoke that the Kashmiri problem cannot be seen from the binary of nationalism, and the peace and reconciliation political process, these are like chicken and egg relationships, and somewhere this cycle has to end and we need to start the process. So author suggests there has to be a sequential, instead of sequential arrangement, the de-escalation of the tensions and peace process shall go simultaneously. And then reading in the shocks, the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act has come into operation from today, and it is tried to organize the real estate sector where maximization of the profits, delay in projects can be avoided. So it's kind of a protection to the home buyers. And then the next article is building holistic ties. The article emphasizes that India-Sri Lanka relations shall not be just transactional. It also shall dwell deep into the political issues. Mr. Trump's tax cut. This article talks about reducing the corporate taxes and income taxes of the rich people so that the capital accumulated will flow as investments, raising the employment. This trickle-down effect to what extent will work is a million-dollar question. Year after year, trials of resettlement. The resettlement in Sri Lanka is not going on a swift pace, And the land which has been taken away by the armed forces during civil war was not returned. Even if it is returned, no basic amenities are being provided for the people to live over there. So generating the economic opportunities and also providing for them in land or a piece of land or a house to live, this is what shall be the priority for Sri Lankan government. And then price caps are a bad idea. So in this, determining the stunts prices by the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority and reducing them all of a sudden by 85% will reduce the incentive for the producers, stunt producers, to invest in research and also to produce high-end stunts. And then, what are the other things? SARC satellite is being launched. And also, Turkey sees role in Kashmir talks, where it is talking about multilateral dialogue. And also, it has hyphenated India and Pakistan in the case of NSG. And then, EC is stipulating for a 5 years ban on bribing the voters. And then, India-US to hold to strengthen the trade talks. In spite of the H-1B visa irritants and India being kept in the Special 301 or priority watch list under the Special 301 report. So India, US are still going forward with their trades, and the target is to achieve $500 billion of the trade between the two countries. So these are the articles for today. Thank you very much and all the best.